There's a certain presence some women carry. You feel it before they speak. It's not in what they wear or how many people follow them, it's in their field, in their frequency. This is what I call the goddess frequency. It's the pulse of a woman who remembers who the fuck she is. Not through titles, not through noise, but through deep devotional embodiment. She doesn't have to perform her power, she just transmits it. She leads from the inside out. And when she walks into a room, the energy shifts not because she commands it, but because her energy is unshakable and anchored. It's not exactly charisma. It's not manufactured confidence from external success. It's frequency, resonance, and embodiment. Think of it like sovereign softness. She's gentle, but never small or silent. She doesn't beg to be chosen. She chooses herself. Her power isn't in force. It's in her ability to be with herself in every season. Her body is her temple. Her presence is prayer. And she moves through the world with intention. Like every breath is a ritual. And her magnetism is about pure presence. This is a woman who holds creative intelligence. She births timelines, ideas, visions, and worlds. She's a portal for life force energy, whether that manifests as a child, a movement, a message, or a business. And because of all the power she holds, she has this sacred self-trust. She listens to her inner voice above all else. She doesn't abandon herself for approval, and her intuition is her authority. When she speaks, the world remembers something ancient and true. She views beauty as medicine, and her goal is to make this world a more beautiful place. Not the kind of beauty sold to you, but the kind that emerges from clarity, harmony, and frequency. The goddess is the beauty because she remembers goddess is in everything. She's very clear about protecting her boundaries. She's not for everyone. She knows that. Her standards are the gate and you only get access to the key if you respect them. She doesn't apologize for being rare. And a lot of her power is through receiving. She receives fully, not just through love and support, but rest, praise, money, miracles. She knows that true feminine power isn't in chasing, but in magnetizing. And the hyper hustling is the lie we've been sold to as women. It goes against our nature. It takes us 9 months to create life. Of course, it's going to take us time to create magic. The proof is in nature. You plant a seed, nurture it daily, and the gift is in watching it grow. So the goddess frequency, it's not about perfection. It's not about having it all together and being high vibe 24/7. It's not a brand. It's not even a vibe. It's a knowing, rooted in the body, rooted in the bones. It's the power of a woman who's done the inner excavation and no longer has to audition for her own life. She doesn't over-explain. She doesn't shrink to soothe. She doesn't lead by volume. She leads by vibration. That is the frequency that says, I am here, I am whole, I am enough, even in my silence. This is how you access the goddess state. And it took me a long time to access this, 30 years actually. I used to think that power meant being louder, sharper, more direct, more knowledgeable, more this, more that. I used to hustle to be heard, to be seen. But the more I tried to control how others received me, the more I lost contact with the part of me that was actually already complete. And this is what the goddess frequency restores. Your wholeness in a face of a world that profits off your performance to be liked or loved. It's not about doing more. It's about being in full possession of your energy, sovereign. And sovereign actually means supreme power or authority, acting or done independently and without outside interference. Because true power is felt. And once you've felt it in your own body, you will always have the codes within you for full control over your life. Does this mean that we're exempt from hardship or betrayal or loss or experiencing negative things in our lives? No, nobody is. That is the human experience. And some of us signed up for extra karma so we could have that wisdom within us. But you always have control over your goddess state, which is your response. That is your power. I want to talk about the lie that we've all been sold about loudness. We were sold a story that if you want to lead, you've got to dominate, be bold, be louder, be visible at all costs. We watched the world celebrate women who rose through sharpness, who traded softness for strategy, who became palatable powerhouses, loud enough to be heard, but never too much to be feared. We've internalized the myth that volume equals value, that visibility must come with virality, that to be trusted, we must out-talk, out-post, out-prove. But in reality, overexposure can only take you so far. Presence, on the other hand, will last a lifetime because you're so fully tapped into your senses that you anchor your energy into this very moment. But I will also say, if your power is forceful, if you walk like thunder and speak like lightning and you take up space with fire, that's also to be honored. Your power is holy too. The dominant woman is not a distortion. She's a clearing, a channel, a catalyst. She deserves respect, not resistance. This isn't a call to silence your power. It's a call to question the performance of it. To ask, is this expression real or is it a reaction? Is it my essence or my armor? The feminine was never meant to compete with the masculine. She was meant to complete herself, to walk with such rootedness and internal gravity that she doesn't have to raise her voice because her energy already carries the room. You were never meant to shout to be seen. You were meant to shine, to lead from stillness, to be magnetic in your mystery, to say less and mean more. So if you've ever been told you're too quiet to lead, or too soft to be taken seriously, or too sensitive for success, I'm here to tell you that's not a flaw, it's the goddess state. And it's time that we reclaimed it. And there's a difference between being powerful and trying to look powerful. One is embodied, the other is exhausting. Felt power is rooted, it comes from the body, not the brand. And you can tell when a woman is very grounded in expression. Her voice sounds like it's coming from this deep inner knowing in her body. It doesn't sound like it's coming all the way up from her mind or in the clouds. It's this quiet confidence of a woman who no longer needs to audition for her own life. So performed power is curated. It's, oh, let me convince you. She's always on and she's very tired. I know her well. I was her my entire life. The woman who made every post a performance, every meeting a monologue, every launch a race to be valid enough to be seen. I knew how to show up, but I didn't know how to drop in, how to anchor. Because the truth is, when your power is performed, you become addicted to the feedback loop, the likes, the applause, the clients, the confirmation. But felt, rooted power, it doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't wait for proof. It doesn't perform. It resonates. Felt power is quiet, but known by everyone because your own power is deeply known by you. It's not necessarily in your tone, but it's in your timing. You could say the same words as someone else, but if your energy isn't anchored, it won't land the same way. And felt power doesn't come from doing more. It comes from being so deeply in integrity with your own frequency that the world rearranges itself around you. And here are a few examples of felt power. So you walk into a room and people instinctively quiet down, not because you're demanding attention, but because your energy entered first. You post one honest, from the body piece of content, and it lands deeper than any polished strategy ever could. Or a client signs up without a sales call saying, I don't even know why, but I just knew I had to work with you. That is felt transmitted power. It's not always flashy, but it is transmitting. It's working. So if you've been performing out of habit or survival or not really knowing any other way, don't shame yourself. Just choose differently in any small way you can. If you can't reclaim this sovereign frequency in your personal life, reclaim it online or at work or with your friends. The shift into felt power starts with one question. What does leadership look like to me when I'm actually embodying presence? For me, it looks like deep breaths, an inner knowing that I'm here to serve, a deep belief in my gifts. I'm safe to make mistakes. I trust myself. I have great intentions. I'm willing to learn and evolve. And I want the best for humanity. That energy in itself gives me unshakable confidence and a state that feels anchored. Bonus points if you know exactly what your global why is, along with your personal why or who you're here to serve and what type of impact you want to leave behind, but we'll get into those in another video. I want to talk about the power of unspoken codes because every woman carries codes. Truths she doesn't have to speak for others to feel. Wounds that have become wisdom. Energy that lingers longer than her words ever could. These are your unspoken codes, and they're more powerful than any script, strategy, or sales page. Because when your energy is clear, when your body is aligned with your voice, and when your presence is rooted in truth, you become the living transmission. And the wildest thing is, you don't even have to try. You don't have to over-explain. You don't have to convince. You don't even have to post every day. Your frequency does the talking for you. Let me tell you something I've learned again and again in my own business. It's not always the carousel post. It's not always the funnel. It's not even the launch plan. It's the moment you choose to show up fully as yourself that shifts everything. Like me right now, I'm showing up nasally because I'm healing a cold, but hey, fuck your mood, follow the plan. You have to show up. I know I'm always uncovering new layers of who I am, and I'm not afraid to live that evolution out loud. I'm not attached to an ideology or to beliefs that keep me in golden handcuffs. This is why I feel so clean in my energy. I'm so deeply rooted in my belief of astrology, and many people know me online as an astrologer. But if I were to denounce that truth and say I found a better way, a truer meaning of life, then I would do that with confidence. And then, if I circle back and realize astrology is in fact the way, then I would own that truth too. People are afraid to let the world see them in their conflicting beliefs. But this is the fourth podcast I've created because the other names I had for my podcast served who I was in that moment in time. And I needed to evolve into something timeless. I had the humble lion. I had magical moments, alchemy in action. And now I have goddess state. I'm always creating new spaces where I feel my expression is best honored and transmitted. And because I claim this rebrand so boldly as my real truth, my people walk with me. People feel when you're anchored. People trust you when your energy speaks louder than your presentation. That's brand, that's leadership, that's aura. So if you've been overcompensating or over-delivering, over-performing, or even trying to fit into a mold that you feel you've outgrown, what if I told you the most magnetic thing you could do is to get quiet enough to let your energy speak? You don't need a megaphone when your frequency is clear. You don't need to chase when you are channeling, because your presence is the proof. So what does embodied power look like? Power isn't just a mindset, it's a state, and the state lives in the body. So if we're going to talk about felt power, we have to talk about how you hold yourself in the moments when nobody sees what you're doing. Because your rituals are not fluff, they're calibrating your true frequency. Here are a few rituals that keep me plugged into felt power, especially when the world wants me to perform. Walking slower. Seriously, when I feel myself rushing or forcing or trying to catch up, I slow all the way down and I walk. It's a signal to my body that we're not chasing, we're choosing. We're present in this moment. I also speak last. In rooms where I normally fill the silence, I let others go first. I let my energy settle before I speak, not because I don't know what to say, but because I trust what's already rising. And again, I'm controlling my response, not my reaction. Touch your body. Hand on the heart, hand on the womb, bare feet on the earth. This is how I remind myself I live here. I lead from here. Not from the scroll, not from the algorithm, but from the body. I also have deep eye contact with my own soul. So look in the mirror. Say nothing. Just witness yourself. This is how you return to yourself. You're born alone and you will die alone. So you better be your own best friend. Do one thing from your higher self each day. Not the version of you that's hustling for results, but the version of you who knows it's already done. Post from her, dress for her, move like her, even if it's just for a minute. Your mind doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. So envision and move like your new self, like your ideal highest self now. And that doesn't mean that you need 1,000 clothing items. You can shift between the same 5 outfits, make them your brand outfits, own them. Less is more. Embodied leadership doesn't require a 5 a.m. routine or 40-step plan. It simply just requires presence, devotion, listening. And you want to have audacity without armor. This means saying, I'm not hiding and I'm also not hardening. I'm not shrinking, but I'm also not shouting. And I'm not performing, I'm just fully present. So many of us were trained to equate confidence with defensiveness, to lead like we're ready for a fight, to treat boldness like a battlefield. But what if your boldest move is to lead without a guard? To be so deeply trusting in your own essence that you no longer need to anticipate being misunderstood. In fact, you expect the right people to understand you and the wrong ones to eject themselves out of your sphere entirely. That is truly energetic mastery. Because when you drop the armor, you become infinitely more magnetic. You become approachable, relatable, real. And the feminine thrives in what is real. So yes, be audacious, take the mic, start the movement, own the room. But do it from your essence, not your ego. And it does take work, of course. It took me 30 years. Do it from your frequency, not your fear. It's better to speak from a shaky voice than to speak from a voice that's not yours. Your softness isn't your weakness. It's your signal. And remember, you are the transmission. This is your goddess state. A portal where your presence is the practice, where your body becomes the oracle, where you remember you are already connected. You always have been. You don't need more answers. You don't need more validation. You don't need to earn what's already yours. Because the real work, it's returning to your body, to your breath, to your own divine authority, to who you were when you were a child and you didn't even want rules. You are source. You are not separate from source. You are not behind and you are not too much. You are her. You are the goddess, the one who leads, the one who feels, and the one who remembers everything. So let this episode be your permission slip to reclaim your feminine power without hardening your heart, to root into your own inner knowing and into your divinity. Because you are God, you are goddess, you are source, you are everything. So if this stirred something sacred within you, share it with your sisters, share it with your mothers. My goal is to raise the matriarch, one goddess at a time. And come back next week as we rise deeper into embodiment, visibility, and the reclamation of the feminine voice. I love you.